on the roof of the TCMU PRWNC PHG and SPAAGS HQ, a battle raged on.
Keep moving up! Don't let them come back into it!
Isaiah was insisting. Izumi shuffled forwards and kicked Nuke in the stomach. He reeled backwards, gasping for breath. "Oh, give over. I was holding back," Izumi insisted. Yeah, whatever. I don't need to hear your gloating. You're lucky I didn't go beast mode on you both. Yeah, think I wouldn't notice you attacking me 2-on-1? When'd your sister get here anyway? She's cute. Isaiah?
I think this is what he previously called the bad green. Don't worry about it. I think Wadston's supposed to be getting a fresh batch of his medication now.
In Heft's uptown bar, Wadston was awkwardly signalling the barman.
I believe you have something for me.
For you? Sorry. You're that doc, right?
Well, not for me exactly. For, you know.
For you downstairs? We don't do that.
For the prince. The prince.
Prince? Oh, you mean that guy? The barman pointed to a hiver sitting at a nearby table. Hivers were curious folk. People usually called them bugmen, which gives you a rough impression of their appearance. Imagine an upright stick insect and you'll be even closer. They were the planet's dominant species before humans had shown their greasy mops around here, but the hivers of those days were far more primitive. After millennia of evolution alongside the sapients, the hivers had developed many traits to compete with the new arrivals: speech, academics, crafts, and in a few isolated cases, a thirst for adventure. This bar bug was an example of the latter. "Is there something you want, old flesh?" the hiver asked from behind the brow of his large hat.
Sorry, no, I said the prince.
"That's me," the hiver continued.
Oh, prince of what?
What do you think? See a hive in here, old one? I should explain the fellow's indignation. For hivers, living apart from a hive was extremely unusual, to put it lightly. In ordinary circumstances, hivers craved each other's close company and worked as a single body to better their communities. But rapid evolution had left a few quirks in their genome, and so these days more and more hivers felt no connection to their hive at all. They were thus banished if they didn't leave of their own accord. This inclination could strike anyone, from drone to exarch, from lackey to prince.
I was speaking of the Imperial Prince Nuke Tashino,
Wadston said.
Tashino? You are in the wrong city. He was exiled.
Only from the palace.
What? That's not what I heard.
I was there as the order was given, friend.
Really? Who are you?
Wadston explained his connection to Nuke, and the current activity of the various guilds that surrounded him. The hiver suddenly stood up.
Take me to him. I command it.
Actually, I don't think he would like that.
We are of equal rank and equal station.
I don't follow.
Exiled prince. Take me to him.
After further insistences, Wadston showed the hiver down the hill to the HQ. The hiver rushed up the stairs and found Nuke lying on the ground, with Isaiah and Izumi pondering what to do with him. Nuke shrieked, pointing at the guest.
The bad green! It's the bad green! It's here! It's alive!
Isaiah grabbed a sword and blocked the hiver's path.
Private residence, little man. Off you go now. Nonsense. I have diplomatic immunity.
Oh? Are you a wizard?
Wadston appeared from downstairs to explain the situation.
A hive prince, Izumi commented. That's fascinating. May I ask you a few questions?
No, slender one.
You'll want to talk. What if a beefy Shek asks you instead,
Is he of princely station?
Guess not. Mr. Wadston, why have you brought this prince here?
Wadston was getting an eyeful from Isaiah. I should note that he was the only one in the group who knew that Isaiah was indeed of princely station. They had decided to keep it secret to stop Nuke feeling insecure. They were good friends. Izumi dragged a semi-conscious Nuke away, and the Hive Prince declared that he would wait for Nuke to awake. The others shrugged and went back to their training, occasionally glancing at the perfectly still hiver doing a decent impression of a small tree in the corner. In the evening, Nuke awoke.
Wadston, that wasn't just bad green.
It was fucking haunted, he moaned.
Your manservant isn't here. He is performing unsolicited surgery in a nearby gulch.
Fine, cool, weird. You fug, it's still haunted in here.
I am a prince, and you must associate with me.
Oh, bug man. I see it now. Sorry, man.
I understand that you feel the weakness of your flesh when you ingest hashish. Your choice to do it regardless is most amusing.
Yeah? Sounds like you're a lava minute yourself.
Associate with me.
Man, I'm not into that.
Declare your association. I require your association.
The hiver was shuffling closer to poor Nuke, cowering in bed.
Fug! Where is everyone? Who even are you?
I am your new associate. Your flappy ears will not be able to hear my name. I use the Greenland name Gustavsson. Prince Gustavsson. I am now associated to you, a prince also.
Cool. Is this like it? Did I get associated with?
Yes, associate.
Cool. Man, was my first time.
And it will not be the last. We must associate with more of princely station.
This is what it's like to be one of Wadston's patients. Ugh.
The long and short of it was that Prince Gustavsson was extremely happy to be associated with another prince, and was henceforth a fixture in the HQ. He didn't say or do much, and everyone gradually got used to it. It's like having a pot plant that moves around sometimes. Still, there was something to be said for having a hive prince around the house, for other lesser hivers had this automatic desire to serve him. One night, when Gustavsson accompanied Nuke to a bar, Nuke mentioned that he liked the sound of how hivers had drone workers who blindly followed orders. Gustavsson pointed at a lone hiver in the corner, snapped his fingers, and suddenly an even skinnier hiver named Julian was at the guild's disposal. Cooking, cleaning, light dusting, heavy lifting, this sprightly stickman was quite the asset. Julian was put in charge of looking after the guild's property in heft, while Nuke took everyone else out on the expedition he had been planning over the last week. This was the expedition to get revenge on the past, which was something to do with getting rich selling old Empire knickknacks from ancient ruins. Nuke bought a Garou to carry the loot. He named it Gary, since Azumi wasn't there to criticize him for it. If you've never heard of a Garou, imagine a cross between a cow, a donkey, and a dog. It was a fat, four-legged, big-mouthed hunk of a beast with enough strength to rip you apart if it wanted, but it didn't want, because Garou were totally chill. Isaiah happily volunteered to be in charge of the new pet. Gary was delighted, mistaking Isaiah for a Garou himself on account of his pale, rough skin. With all these preparations made, the crew geared up for a long walk, out to the places where most feared to tread. And given that people were literally mauled to death right outside Heft on the daily, these other places must have something really crazy going on. Or really cool, as Nuke imagined, or really interesting, as Azumi imagined. Els was imagining himself out drinking a Garou to screaming applause and adulation. "Alright everyone, adventure time," Nuke declared. Isaiah cheered alone. "Please cheer," Nuke added, gaining a nearly audible murmur in response. One suspects the crew weren't entirely sure whether this was a good idea. It was Nuke's idea after all. Well, things were fine for at least 50 paces out the door of the HQ. There, Nuke's pungent scent smacked the guards out of their stupor, and he had to pay them $2,000 to not go searching through Nuke's hashish pouch. More of a satchel than a pouch, really. Now the trip had to be extra profitable. It was a long walk they had planned, down to the eastern coast and then south to the abandoned outlands known as Howler's Maze.
"What's a howler?"
Els asked.
"It's the sound you make when you get killed there, I think,"
Isaiah said.
"Are we gonna get killed?" "Well, not all of us, I wouldn't expect."
What exactly is the thing that will kill us? Azumi asked.
"You can't believe talk, but they say giant crabs."
How about that? I don't believe the talk.
How giant? Nuke asked.
"Don't really know. That's the point of an adventure, isn't it?"
Totally. Let's do it, boys. Get me a giant crab for dinner. Nuke pointed out at the horizon, and the adventure was on. He was impatient to see the surely delicious menace that awaited them, And he was in luck, for he would have the pleasure of being unconscious for most of the journey. Why? Well, Nuke was again proudly wearing his noble robes, and that attracted the attention of the rebels.
Oppressor!
They screamed as they charged at the group.
I have a name, you know,
Nuke retorted, drawing his blade. After a good week of practice, the whole crew knew a thing or two about fighting, which was about the same number of things the scraggly rebels knew as well. Being fresh from the city gave our heroes the edge though, and slowly the battle turned in their favour. Nuke wasn't happy though. He saw Gustafsson just standing there, watching the mass melee with a smile on his face.
Oi, Bad Green, come on, fight them,
Nuke insisted.
That is not necessary. Come, Prince, let us watch the soldiers perform their dance.
Fucking... You're not even the prince of anything. Look, swap places with me. You fight my one, and I'll... Ah! Unfortunately, Nuke's one clubbed him across the head. When he woke up, it was night time, and all around him were tall pillars of rock. They tore the wind this way and that, and drove it through little gaps at high speeds. This made a certain sound, and hence we learned the real reason the place was called Howler's Maze. Oh, but Isaiah's reason wasn't exactly wrong either.
What's then? The bird,
Nuke mumbled.
The Bad Green apologizes for the inconvenience,
Gustafsson said.
Where are we?
Isaiah says this is the edge of Howler's Maze,
Wadston said. The doctor was sat beside Nuke inspecting the bandage around his head.
Any giant crabs?
I'm afraid not, my prince.
What time is it?
Around 3, my prince.
I wanna...
What is it, my prince?
Giant crab. For breakfast.
I really think...
Giant crab for breakfast. Come on.
Nuke seems to have become fully energized and was up on his feet, moving out with a swaying gait towards the even howlier highlands just barely visible to the east. They crossed a series of rocky paths between large pools of seawater. Rock pools. The sort of place you might expect to see...
Ah! Giant crab!
Izumi shouted. A huge, orange, armoured scuttler emerged from the dark water as they passed by its hiding spot.
Oh, it's not even that big,
Isaiah said, drawing his sword and eyeing up the metre-long claws on the 2-metre-long arms of the 3-metre-wide crustacean all atop those 4-metre legs. Have you ever seen a normal-sized crab, my man? Nuke asked, backing away.
My prince, shall we?
Wadston asked.
Yes, leg it! Leave the fucking giant crab! I want a smaller one!
With this, the crew was on the move once again. Luckily, one of the promised ancient ruins was just up the hill beyond the pools, and by the time they reached it and looked back, the curious crab had returned to its important business in the sea.
So that's a giant crab,
Nuke huffed as they caught their breath.
And this is from the Second Empire,
Izumi noted, looking over the collapsed dome of the structure.
Yeah, so's my old house.
And I would be delighted to analyse that also if you weren't so obnoxious that your own family threw you out here among the bloody giant crabs.
I thought you'd be happier.
Just forget it.
Miss Izumi,
Wadston asked.
Could it be that the giant crabs have unnerved you?
What the fuck do you think?
I just want you to know that I am here for you.
Whatever. Technically I'm here for you, remember?
This slight from a discontented worker was taken in the most romantic way possible by the old doctor, as usual. Izumi was cheered up by the coming of sunrise, and with the discovery that the building they were in was part of a large settlement, with many other structures still intact. The crew poked around in a few of these large cylindrical shells, but they were empty. Someone had beaten them to it.
I thought this place was untouched,
Nuke complained to Isaiah.
Perhaps the crabs were smaller in the past,
Isaiah offered.
The past? Oh, don't talk to me about the past.
Shall I get revenge on the past for you, Master?
Els offered.
Can't, can we? Everything's already been revenged to bits.
What about that one?
Els pointed at a door they hadn't tried yet.
Be my guest, Charlie, my good man. Let's take a seat, everyone. Guess we'll eat the Okran Forsaken skimmer steaks for breakfast.
A few minutes later, Els reported back.
Them crabs really were smaller before. Some of them still are as well.
I thought as much.
Isaiah nodded to himself.
Hang on. What's that sound?
Behind Els was a carpet of movement, approaching fast. What do you know? It was a bunch of less giant crabs.
Less giant crabs!
Izumi shouted. The gang rushed out and fled the scene, running up a nearby ridge and across the barely visible outline of an ancient roadway. The less giant crabs continued to wander the ruins, dreaming of one day becoming less giant crabs. From their new retreat point, the crew were overlooking a large ruined settlement. And a large crab. More than a giant crab, it was
A giant fucking crab,
Nuke breathed, pointing down at the patrolling, building-sized monster.
It's a mega crab,
Izumi said.
That's a sweet name, mega crab.
Man, mega crab for lunch? Wadston talked Nuke down, and in the meantime, Izumi analysed what she could of the settlement.
That building there, the close one, it's got that symbol on the side, like the Traders Guild.
Traders Guild? Out here?
Puzzled Desire.
No, the symbol is from the old empire. It's a state library.
Oh, funny place for one.
It's sorry, never mind. Prince Tashino, the treasure is in there.
The lost treasure of the ancients, guarded by the king of all crabs, the mega crab, Nuke mused. Fucking cool. I'll get it.
Do not harm the crustacean,
Gustafsson insisted before Nuke left.
Man, I'm not gonna be fighting a fucking 10-meter tall mega crab.
Good. The mega crab is suitable for association.
No, okay, just no. Mega crab don't want to be your friend. I guarantee it.
You feel threatened by its dominance.
What? I feel like you're insane. Just do your tree thing for a bit, okay? I'm going in.
Nuke, now something slightly more than an amateur ninja, snuck down to the library and eyed the mega crab as it wandered about town. When the time was right, he started jabbing at the lock on the library door. The door had been closed for 3,000 years, so suffice to say it was a tad stiff. The others, watching from the ridge above town, saw Nuke constantly giving them the thumbs up as he worked, hour after hour. The mega crab crept about, but was unable to hear Nuke swearing under his breath, or even the point when Nuke started hammering his sword straight into the locking gears. Eventually though, there was a slight hiss, and a machine pulled the doors open. Bingo. That is the first word Nuke saw on a shelf from the door. How to Win at Bingo, the book was titled. Ancient treasure of the rarest form. Nuke searched the place and signalled for Wadston and Els to bring some bags down for haulage. Izumi was quite right about it being a library, but most of the stuff inside was either rotten or was just random bits of old fiction with few or even no big-eyed illustrations, practically worthless. The only valuable pieces were some old science books, which contained handy info on things like how that hydraulic door Nuke had broken actually worked. And there were maps to other ancient towns across the world, which are valuable to an adventurer, at least.
What did you get?
Izumi asked excitedly. Stuff. Here's the best one. Got a few pictures. Space Marine Codex, it says, right? Nuke said.
Space Marine. The sky and the sea. Sounds like it could be philosophy.
Nuke decided to let Izumi remain excited about that. The nearby ancient road led further uphill, and the coast was relatively clear of crabs of any proportion, so they hiked on a little further. Eventually they came to the very top of the barren hill, just as the sun was setting. From the heights they could see a few other ancient settlements dotted along the coast nearby. And, thanks to the dim twilight, it didn't even look like they were crawling with giant crabs. This adventuring thing wasn't that bad, was it? As long as the mega crabs didn't see you, the world was your old, dusty oyster. The view from that hill, high above the Howler's maze, was something very few people in the world had ever seen. Even fewer had seen the rare copy of The Rusty Agronian's Spade, a book written during the time when machine intelligence reigned supreme over the world. As Isaiah had said, this was the life. Would all of Nuke's trips be this nice? Absolutely, positively not.